Hi, I'm Gabrielle Target from A Labour of Love, and today I want to share with you the epidemic of fear surrounding birth. I'm going to go through the points of how it has come to be. Why are women so fearful of birth? Well, there's a number of reasons really, and it starts with lack of education. Women, unfortunately, do not have the opportunity to sit in classes that really empower them. So that's where it all begins, because they're not getting the positivity and those positive stories from other women and perhaps the actual midwives that are teaching the classes. They're not tuning in to how amazing birth can be and how empowering birth can be. They're tuning into all that negativity and that fear. If you attend a childbirth education class and all they focus on is what they're going to do to you in terms of induction to get you into labour and breaking your membranes and putting up a drip and having an epidural and then, finishing with forceps or vacuum. No wonder women are terrified of birth. That is not the education that you should be getting, especially if you already have fear and anxiety. It's fundamentally important that you do seek positive childbirth education that does empower you and helps you to feel confident and positive and trust in your own body that you can birth your baby in this beautiful way. Now, it also doesn't help that for eons of time through movies and television and series, there's been depictions of women giving birth in these terrible ways, or maybe even fantasizing what birth looks like. So I know I've seen numerous films where a woman's membranes break and suddenly she's being rushed to the hospital and she's having this baby, she's pushing in the next scene. I'm like, well, where was the labor? She's gone from membranes breaking to pushing. How did that happen? There was actually no labor involved, which is a fantasy. I mean, I'm sure every woman would love that. That's a bit crazy because you need that time to labor to get your head around actually the baby coming into the world. There's a purpose for labor. I myself have had quick labor experiences, but I still had a labor from, first contraction, laboring, and then pushing in 2 hours. So fast labors. But the fantasy images that you see in TV and film are just so unrealistic. And I think sometimes if women don't do any childbirth education at all, that is what they think is going to happen. And there they are 24 hours later still labouring, hard labour. That can really put the fear in you for perhaps the next time around. So I feel that the horror stories and the media have done a complete injustice to birth. How often do you sit with women who impart their negative stories? And they do this, I believe, to debrief themselves of their traumatic experience. And it's such a shame that women don't seek out someone like myself, a birth trauma specialist, to debrief their story on and to break it down as to what actually happened so that they can actually get through it and heal from it and make sense of it. So if they do go on to have another baby, they don't bring all that baggage of that negative birth story with them. Now, I'm a big believer in the red tent principle and was highlighted in The Red Tent by Anita Darmont. It's the principle of where all the wives of Moses would sit together in a tent when they were menstruating and they would share all their stories about birth and marriage and sex and everything. I have always run childbirth education classes for couples, first and foremost, but also just for women. So women can get totally honest and real about birth and labour and what's going to happen. That is really, really important that you get that positive input. It has to come from women who have experienced amazing empowered births like myself, and share those stories, share the positivity, share what actually works with childbirth. what doesn't work, what does work, and how amazing birth can actually be. That is really, really important, that you seek out positive education and stories from women. So if you're hearing all the negative and the gloom and doom and this is what happened to me and they cut me from here to here and no, put your hand up and say, no, I'm in the creation of my own birth and labor journey. I don't need to hear your experience. Sorry, but no, I'm trying to tune into really positive experiences here. Now, unfortunately, the epidemic of fear is coming from that techno-medical model of birth, which is known as the medicalised birth version. So that is where women get railroaded into being induced. They don't have a natural beginning, and then it just cascades into more and more interventions till they end up with forced vacuum or cesarean. So unfortunately, the high rates of intervention have not done any favours for promoting positive, empowered birth. So women listen to those stories and they feel so fearful that that's what's going to happen to them. Now, there's also a thing called the self-fulfilling prophecy. That's all that you're thinking about is, I don't want a cesarean, I don't want forceps, I don't want vacuum, and you're focusing intently on the things that you don't want. Well, guess what? You attract them to you, unfortunately. And a lot of women that I've worked with post-birth for trauma literally focused so intently that they created all the things they didn't want, and they actually manifested into that exact experience. So be very mindful of what you're putting out for. Your thoughts do create your reality. So what is it that you're thinking and feeling? Very, very important to acknowledge. As I said, lack of education can be responsible for the epidemic of fear associated with birth. If you're not getting good, positive education, if it's all gloom and doom and this is what we're going to do to you, then of course you're going to end up very fearful and very scared. And that is totally acceptable, because if that's all that you're learning, I mean, I wouldn't want to go to a class where I'm being told what's going to happen to my body and that I'm completely out of control and that XYZ is going to happen. Who wants to hear that? Nobody. But birth is about surrender and letting go. It's not about anyone being in control. So we need to drop that, because way too many women feel they need to be in control. And also, we don't want anyone else to be controlling our experience either. So we want to make sure that we are feeling empowered and strong, and we're trusting in our body and the job it's designed to do first and foremost. So important. That's where we need to come from. So that alleviates that fear, that diminishes that anxiety you have around labour. So that's what we really need to do. The more, though, women pass down these negative stories, unfortunately, it exacerbates and perpetuates all that fear and that negativity. So gone are the days where women are openly share these amazing experiences. I feel it's such a shame. I used to have a group, a circle regularly where I used to get women together and we would talk about birth. I used to teach positive childbirth education in my fitness classes. So while we were exercising, particularly in the hydro pool when I ran my hydro classes, I'd be constantly imparting beautiful birth stories that I'd attended just that week or that month. So the women were constantly hearing about these beautiful positive experiences. And sadly, that is really missing from what we have going on. And our mothers, they often didn't have good experiences either, so they don't share anymore with their daughters. Sisters don't share with sisters great stories. So we've really lost that generational connection. If anything, we're perpetuating trauma constantly, and that's exacerbating the epidemic of fear. We also have tapped into the fear, tension, pain cycle, which Dr. Grantley Dick Reed wrote in his book Childbirth Without Fear, and he wrote that book in 1940, and that explains how if you go into this experience fearing, you end up with excessive tension in your body, and that tension increases the pain, and therefore women run to epidural and to the drugs because they want to shut it off. They want to have all of that stopped so that they are then detached from birthing. So instead of embracing it and surrendering to it and bringing it on and saying, come on, bring it on, they are literally trying to divorce themselves from the experience. So numbing themselves, not being in it, not partaking on a very deep level, which is what labour is about. You're transitioning from your life being pregnant to that of having a newborn baby and a baby to look after. So through that separation and pushing that epidemic of fear more, because there's something going on there for a woman that does that. She's definitely fearing this experience if she doesn't want to embrace it and surrender to it. And I can tell you, as a labouring woman of 3 home births, beautiful experiences, birth is the most incredible thing you can go through. But you have to set yourself up and you have to educate yourself to get baby in optimal fetal position, to have the right support around you, to have the right intensity relievers available to you, like the hot water, the shower, the massage, the TENS, the hot packs. So you've got to prepare. There is an element of preparation to creating beautiful, empowered birth. It doesn't just happen. So we are missing that education, and that's what it gets down to. That's what I began this video with. It's all about the education, isn't it? So educate yourself thoroughly. I've written 3 amazing books that are all about empowerment and what you need to know to birth your baby. I have 5 beautiful hypnosis scripts available on YouTube. They're also available on my website. I have a childbirth education audio program where you listen to me talking to you and teaching my childbirth education that I do in my workshops. So you don't have to look at anything. You could put it on in your earphones and go out walking or bike riding or whatever you do for your exercise. Listen to it on the train or in the car. So you're getting your childbirth education constantly when you're out and about, because I know we're so busy these days, aren't we? It is hard to find a moment to stop and attend a day workshop or a half a day workshop. It is hard because we're all out there trying to earn money. Everything's so expensive these days, but education is so vitally important. So if this is something that interests you, the link is below to my website where I sell my online program, and you get all the goodies, all the books, everything. I highly recommend you do that. You need to surround yourself with good, positive people that are going to support you in this beautiful labour journey that you are trying to create. You need a good midwife on board. You might need a doula on board if your partner isn't up for stepping up to be that amazing support for you. But that's okay too if they're not. Don't beat them up over that. Sometimes you need to employ a doula to step in and to be that support for you. And just reframe labour and birth. Think about how you think about it. Reframe it for yourself. Say, right, everyone else thinks it's all gloom and doom and horrible and a revolting experience and it's full of, trauma. Just say, no, I'm going to step back from that and I'm going to start to think positively about it. And maybe I will buy Gabrielle's script and her childbirth education. I might start listening to her. Or watch my other YouTube videos. I've got so many up now on YouTube, all different topics. Just start listening to what I've got to say, because I am all about empowering women. I've attended over 450 births over 28 years as a doula, and I have seen everything. So that's where the writing of my books came from real, actual experiences where I observed and I watched intently, and I learnt what really works for a woman and her partner. So, listen to what I have to say, read what I've got to say. It is powerful, it's real, it's not just fabricated, it's not a fantasy. It's really good stuff. And I hope and pray for you that you create the birth you want and desire. You stay positive. You start listening to positive stories. My third book is all positive stories, a whole book of stories that have been gifted to me and some that I have written myself on behalf of women. And they've given me permission to publish. So they're all available on Amazon. So the links are down below. If you've really enjoyed this content, give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love you to do that. I'm all about imparting this knowledge and wisdom that I have within me, because it's wasted if I don't. And that's why I'm doing these YouTube clips, to try and get out there this information that I have within me, that I feel so passionate about women understanding and acknowledging, and your support people, your partner, support people, your own mother maybe, and your sisters, your girlfriends. Let's heal this epidemic of fear. Let's heal it so it doesn't exist anymore. That's my goal and my aim, and this is why I do what I do. So love your way, birth your way. Thanks for watching today or tonight. Bye for now.